Okay, so this is the Kel Tec KSG shotgun. One of 50 in Canada right now, and I'm lucky enough to have one of them. This is going to be primarily my 3-gun shotgun, because of course it holds 15 2 3/4 inch shells, so it's almost like cheating. I just pull it right out of the box, and I just put a set of Magpul backup iron sights on it, and we'll see how it shoots. It's a bullpup design, has 2 magazine tubes, holds 6 3-inch shells or 7 2 3/4 inch shells on each side, so a total of 14 rounds plus 1 in the chamber for 15 rounds total. I'm just going to be loading 2 rounds per tube for now, just so I can practice more with loading and switching from one barrel to or one tube to the other, just so I get a little more practice with loading and switching tubes.
Still shoots in a straight line.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely have to practice loading, figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. I might flip it upside down, drop them in. One guy on the Kel Tec Owners Group forum was saying that an easier way to load them, instead of throwing them up on an angle like a regular shotgun, put it in right to the top and slide it straight forward. So that seems to be a better way to go, because it's awkward if you're trying to get it on an angle like that. But if you just throw it right up and in and then forward, it seems to go in pretty nice. I think with a little bit of practice, you can load this thing up pretty quick. So I fired about 30 rounds so far, no failures. Got quite a kick to it. I really like the action. It has a nice smooth action. Getting used to the switching over from one to the other, from one tube to the other, that's going to take a bit of practice. You got to get used to that, because you can actually rack the slide and it'll eject a round, but it won't, or eject a shell, but it won't put a new one in because it's an empty tube. So you think you've got one in there if you haven't been counting, and then you pull the trigger and nothing, and then you got to remember to switch over, then rack the slide again. So that's something you're going to have to either count your rounds or you're just going to have to get used to it. I think when I'm going to walk up to the line to start the course of fire, I'll probably flip the gun over and load up this way. If you drop the round right in and then push forward, it seems to go really good. If you try and push it on an angle, it's awkward and gets kind of stuck. But if you're in the middle of a course of fire and you need to put a couple extra rounds in, just tilting it over and sticking your thumb up, it goes in fairly easy, fairly straightforward. Loading the left-hand tube is a little more awkward than loading the right-hand tube, unless you're left-handed. But still, it's really not that bad. It's just a matter of getting used to it. So someone was saying that the KSG shoots a pretty wide pattern. I'm not an expert on shotguns, so I don't really know what it should be shooting. But I'll put one in, and I'll be standing about 10 feet away from, or 10 yards away from the target, and we'll see what it patterns like. So that was about 10 yards away, and we've got a pattern of about 9 inches or so. One thing, or another thing guys were talking about is when you rack the slide, don't want to have your hand back here because you'll hit the trigger guard. You want to make sure you're forward of the first couple of rails here. The other thing was, a lot of guys were saying when they pull back, there's a bit of a resistance here, and they think that that's where they should start to go forward again. But it's not. You come back, you feel that bit of resistance, there's just that little bit extra. So you got to make sure that you fully come all the way back. That was it. One thing I did notice is once you've racked the action, you can't pull back anymore. My other shotgun is a Dominion Ards Grizzly mag, and when I take it out with friends, the first time they shoot it, they rack the slide, and then sometimes they pull it back a little bit, and it brings it out of battery, and then it just goes click. And they're like, "Oh, this thing sucks, man." No. you suck. But this one can't do that, so can't pull back unless you flick down the little lever in the front here. So I fired about 150 rounds today, not a single misfire or misfeed or anything like that. Worked out brilliantly. I loaded up with 15 rounds, ran it as fast as I could, no problems whatsoever. There are a few guys that showed up and I let them have a go, and one of them had a problem, but I think what happened was he short stroked it, and so I took it off him, had a look, racked it forward, gave it back, and he kept going. So it wasn't an issue with the gun, it was just a user error. So yeah, I fired about 150 rounds of number 7 shot, about 20 rounds of number 2 heavy game load, and a couple of rounds of slugs, and everything went through great. It's just it's a fantastic gun, lots of fun. I can't wait to do a 3-gun match with this thing. It's going to be awesome. All right.